I've got the looks and the charm of an old movie star. Cary Grant, if you will, so I find it bizarre that this girl should refuse to step into my car. She must be shy, she'll come around, it's just a matter of time. Aurora, Aurora, Aurora.
Hey there, Screen Beans, and welcome to Screen Snark, the podcast that celebrates all of the shows that are in our eyes, on our minds, and in our hearts. I am Rachel Gorky Shank.
And I am Matt, a.k.a. Stormageddon.
Woo!
We did it.
Hey, Matt. How you living?
Sweaty. It's the summer podcast months.
It's the time.
Where we turn off the AC for an hour so y'all can get a clear audio recording.
Clear, delicious audio.
We do it all for you.
We do it, yeah. We perspirate so you can listen.
Great. Perfect. No notes.
Nailed it.
Yeah. Perfect.
Oh, wow. Jeez. Nailed it.
I'm going to move us along to our guest.
You.
You're
boy,
welcome.
Oh boy.
And this is our first back-to-back episodes, two parts, if you will, of one whole. We have the other half of the incredible Super Bracket Bros podcast, the one and only bracketologist, Jay Davis.
Yay.
Welcome to the show.
Welcome, Jay.
Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, and I appreciate you gave me my formal bracketologist title. Not just bracketologist. You gotta put something on it. So thank you.
You gotta put a little bit of stank on it.
Yeah,
a little
bit. It's absolutely. Honestly, every time I listen to every episode and you do it, I giggle because it's just the best delivery. It gives me the what was the name of the ring announcer in WCW back in the day? I can't remember his name, but let's get ready to rumble. Like it's got that vibe.
Well, that's kind of where I didn't intentionally start it. It just at some point during the podcast, I just started really leaning into it, and I was like, you know what, this kind of is like a wrestling sportscaster kind of vibe to it, and so then it just kind of stuck, and then every once in a while I'll just really hang on it for 10-15 seconds, and it's great.
You got it. It is excellent. We are going to talk.
Sounds like a bit. I'm in.
Yeah, anything that sounds like a bit.
Anything for the bit.
Speaking of bits, before we get into our main topic, as always, I shouted it out last episode. I'm going to shout it out again. My episode of spoiler alert, I guess, for my episode of Super Bracket Bros, but the battle took place in Hyrule, and during the recording, Jay asked every member of the podcast to do our best Link impression. And then not only to introduce the location, used those, but also used actual Link voices and capped it with Link falling, the la sound. And it was just the best edit and one of my favorite highlights of a podcast ever.
It was because I had all the Hias and they were right on top of each other, and I was like, I really want to give everybody their moment, and so I spaced them out a little bit, and then I was like, you know what, we need the man himself in here.
I could have actual Link in there.
Yeah. Very proud of that edit. Thank you.
It was very good stuff. But we'll talk more about Super Bracket Bros in a little bit. But for now, as we always do, we will start by talking about the most recent things we have watched. And before I get into my main topic, I do have a shout out and a thank you to tell Rachel finally that, and I have told Rachel this in private as well, I have finally started The Owl House. I am 6 episodes in, and it is incredible. I got to tell my co-host Jeff, who dressed as Hootie for Halloween last year, that his Hootie impression is actually absolutely spot on.
It's spot on. It's absolutely perfect.
Incredible.
It's unbelievable. God damn it, Hootie.
Yeah.
God damn it.
I wish I had started watching it sooner. If you're an Alex Hirsch fan, this is in the same vein. It's a different creator, but Alex Hirsch is in it, and it's a similar vibe to Gravity Falls. So I highly recommend it. I'm only a handful of episodes in, but it's a delight. King must be protected at all costs.
Yes.
And is the cutest king of demons in the world.
Yeah. I love him.
And so more on that as I finish it.
You're not ready.
I'm not ready. Oh, I'm sure it'll make me cry. I'm sure. I can't wait. But as I complete those seasons, if they are in timing with the show, I will bring them here. But it's been a delight so far. So thank you, Rachel, for recommending the show. I'm sorry it took so long.
It's okay. You don't have to apologize. I'm so excited for you. That's all that matters. That's all that matters is you are like, I love King. I'm like, you have no idea.
Yeah.
You have no earthly clue what is ahead. I know everything.
You do know everything. You've seen it already.
It's the best.
But that is not the thing that I've watched most recently that I've brought for the show. The thing I have brought most recently is another 2023 film, if you will, that came up. that came out very recently. It is the latest adventure for Indiana Jones. It is Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. And so to say up front, I agree that Crystal Skull is not a great movie. However, I don't agree that it is a bad movie. I think it's fine. I think the problem is it was an Indiana Jones film, and people had expectations that it was never going to meet. And so people were harder on it. Sort of like Episode 1, which I've gone back and watched and is like not good, but is not as bad. Like Star Wars fans were more upset because it was a bad Star Wars film, not because it was a bad film. It was a perfectly mediocre fine film.
A fine film, but a film that lacks the certain charm that the first Indiana Joneses have.
Correct.
You know, the sort of realism of prop and set and snake.
Yeah. But
this one had monkeys.
Yes.
CGI monkeys.
Yeah. Well,
swinging around with Shia LaBeouf.
Yeah, we'll never forget that. But so going into Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, I'd like the trailers. I'm excited that Phoebe Waller-Bridge is in it. I really like her. And like it looked like it was going to pay homage to the older indie films. And so I can say now here, having seen the film, that it's actually quite good. I don't think it's the best, but I think it's one of the better ones. And I think that James Mangold, who directed this, and all of the folks who worked on the writing team kind of really understood what Indiana Jones was and how to make an aging Indiana Jones feel relatable. The basic premise is the film starts with a flashback of a younger Indiana Jones in one of his many adventures, and de-aged, but because it was darker and when he wasn't moving, it looked pretty good. De-aging technology is still not great, but it's the best I've seen. The action shots were kind of choppy, and there was clearly a body double for some of the action shots. So like the de-aging wasn't great, but it was better than I'd seen before. Definitely better than all the terrible Marvel de-aging stuff. And then it shows you these events, this past event, it flash forwards to like Indy as an older professor getting ready to retire, all this other stuff. And then he comes back in touch with his goddaughter, Helena, played by Phoebe Waller-Bridge, and like chaos ensues. You know, she's on the run. He gets roped into her adventures. And then like the movie progresses. I don't think I need to go through the whole plot, but it becomes a fairly expected Indiana Jones adventure. There are cameos. John Rhys Davies returns as Sala, who I love. And if there are a few other cameos that I don't want to ruin. Also, Toby Jones is in this. He plays Basil Shaw, one of Indy's old proteges, and Toby is always great in just about everything he's in. But all in all, it was a fun adventure. It remembered it was an Indiana Jones film. There was goofball moments. It was larger than life. It felt like the old Pirates of the Caribbean movies as well, which were essentially doing the same kind of thing, like comedy, heart, and fun action set pieces. It was absolutely incredible to watch Phoebe Waller-Bridge be a action badass a bunch, which was neat. Because if you only know her from what was the Fleabag, not an action show. So that was fun. And then it was just kind of an all-star cast. I mean, it was Antonio Banderas was in it. It was Mads Mikkelsen, everyone's favorite villain in anything. It was just, it had a really great cast, and it really kind of understood the assignment of what it was like to be an Indiana Jones film. It didn't try to be modern. It didn't try to introduce a young sidekick, although ultimately that's what Phoebe Waller-Bridge ends up being. There is a child actor in it whose name I can't remember, who was absolutely incredible. Played he played Teddy. His name is Ethan Isdor, and he was great. He was like Helena's companion, business partner, and he was this kind of rambunctious kid. He was really great, really smart, really fun. But all in all, I really enjoyed it. I think the action was still fun. It still had very Indiana Jones moments. And it ends in a way that I don't think there needs to be more, but if there were, I wouldn't be upset, right? If they spun it off into a Phoebe Waller-Bridge-led Future of Indiana Jones film, I don't think I'd mind. Is it better than the original films? It's hard to say. It's different. I don't think it'll ever top the old school stuff, especially the first two films, but I really had a good time. My spouse and I both had a good time. We laughed. There were some heartfelt moments. It was the dialogue was great. And Harrison Ford, after coming off watching Shrinking, which he was great in, and then watching the more recent Star Wars films, which he wasn't as great in, like, he still has the charisma. The problems with the newer trilogy of Star Wars movies was the writing, not him. Like, I think because he chews the scenery, he's crotchety and sarcastic, and like, he's just very, very good. If you've watched Shrinking, you can see a little bit of that kind of crotchety character in Indiana's performance, because he's an older person now trying to just save the day, but he can't, like, he's frustrated that he has to. I think it was really entertaining, and if you were on the fence about seeing it, I highly recommend it. I think if you're an old school Indiana Jones fan and you're worried this is going to be another Crystal Skull, I can assure you it's far better than that film, though it's a low bar. If you're coming to expect it to be as good as the originals, it can't be. It's just different. Like, when you get this far into a franchise, just like the folks who were mad that Matrix, what was the fourth one? Resurrection wasn't as good as the originals. Well, it was a different movie. And I would argue it's on par with the first film because of how it was made and the messaging and all of that. But like, you have to kind of take new films, understanding the legacy, and let it be what it is. And I thought they did a really great job. I really ended up enjoying it and kind of actually want to see it again because I just had a blast with it.
Nice.
Yeah, I was never really, like, I didn't see the Indiana Jones series until college. It was just kind of one of the pop culture things that missed me until, like, I got older and had a roommate who really loved Indiana Jones, and it was like, this is what we're doing this weekend, okay? And so I watched all of them, and I liked it, but there were definitely moments, like, as an adult where I was watching it where I think, like, some of the mysticism was, like, missed on me, and some of the goofiness was just goofy and silly rather than, like, funny. And so I've always been pretty mixed on Indiana Jones. So, like, if I go into this film, am I going to, like, is this like a more modern version where it kind of cleans up some of the things that I may not have liked, or is this more the same? You know, because I was thinking about going to see it just because Harrison Ford, right? And I'm so glad that you mentioned Shrinking, because I felt like that was the best I've ever seen Harrison Ford in that series.
He was unbelievable in that show.
Like, that makes me want to see Dial of Destiny more than any other Indiana Jones has, you know, because I just want to see more of him now, you know, doing his thing.
I mean, I will say that this is one of his better performances in recent memory, besides Shrinking, just because he feels like himself. It feels like, you know, an older version of himself, but himself. If you were like kind of just lukewarm on the other Indiana Jones films, this is more of the same. Like, I think it might be a little more cleaned up by perspective, but I can't give you that perspective because I love the original films and I'm a fan of the character. And so where you might think something is tired, I'm probably going to be more forgiving because I'm a fan of the franchise and the character. But that said, I mean, if you like going to see films that are just designed to entertain, like your Mario Brothers films, the Sonic movies, things like that are just kind of like stuff to chew on that's entertaining, then you'll enjoy this. I don't think you'll be bored, but it's not high art, right? It's not the kind of stuff that like Andor and The Mandalorian is. Like, it's entertaining.
Asteroid City.
No.
It's not Asteroid City.
I watched Asteroid City.
I haven't seen it. I want to see
amazing.
it.
It was amazing.
I want to see it. I really
Wes
do.
Anderson figured out how to put a play as a movie.
Amazing.
He did it.
He did it.
He made it a play, and it's a movie, but it's a play. It's amazing.
But I think that if you want to see a fun action film with some heart, you could do worse than this for sure.
Yeah. I love that. I was a big Indiana Jones fan, like, as a kid.
Yeah.
Temple of Doom was, like, my movie.
Sure.
Like, I watched it repeatedly. I just really like the opening with the Anything Goes. Yeah.
I mean,
and the big fight, and he stabs somebody. He's like a fucking maniac in that one.
Yeah. I mean,
Man's
also,
out of his mind in that one.
Temple of Doom also is like been parodied so many times that even if you're not a fan of it, you know it because it's just like most famously they showed this in the theater before the film, but the Simpsons parody where Bart steals the pennies and Homer falls down the stairs like the boulder. Like, they showed a bunch of those kinds of parodies, but yeah, I mean, I think Rachel, if you're a fan, you'll definitely enjoy it for sure.
I'll probably check it out eventually.
Yeah.
When I have time.
Yeah.
Well, Matt.
Yes.
If you had to sum up Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny in just 3 words, and you can't use Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny to describe it, how would you accomplish this task?
Old man Indy.
Old man Indy. I love that.
Technically, I didn't use Indiana. I used a shortened version.
You cheated, and it was perfect, and I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
I've never been prouder
proud
of
me.
you in my whole life when you break rules. Old man Andy. Love it, love it, love it. It's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's definitely worth checking out. But I'm curious what other folks' stuff. I mean, also the high bar for me was like Adam Lance Garcia also enjoyed it, and he's like a LucasArts super fan. So like,
Yeah.
if he enjoyed it, I feel like it's safe that I also enjoyed it. Well, Rachel, now it
Yes.
is your turn. Please share with
Oh.
the class the most recent thing you have watched.
Yeah, I will do that. I do want to say I am in the midst of a Steven Universe rewatch at this moment. Yeah. It's not what I'm bringing because obviously
Right.
we've talked that show
Oh my God,
to
so much.
the ends of the earth, but I stumbled into it because they were doing a live feed on YouTube of just a bunch of like the summary episodes. So a lot of it was like the barn arc with Peridot first arriving, and it's just like, oh right, this is when the show like is cooking.
Yeah.
So now I'm watching it, having seen everything, and going, Rebecca,
Yeah.
you hit a clue right there in plain sight. Oh boy, it's been very fun to do. But yeah, I could talk about Steven Universe every day.
Forever. Yeah.
I love it. It's that and the Owl House, man. They're my favorite cartoons. They are fighting for supremacy constantly in my heart. But what I did bring is another lovely little animation that could very well climb the ranks of my high regard. I watched the first 2 and only released episodes of My Adventures with Superman.
Oh, I watched this too. It was so good.
It was
Yes.
so good. It was so sweet and so charming, and everything I want in a little Superman moment. Like we got ourselves a very like wholesome, sweet, kind of naive Clark Kent. We love it. We've got a very young, very energetic, very stubborn Lois Lane. We've got a conspiracy theorist, Jimmy Olsen. It's delightful. I'm into it. The first 2 episodes are on HBO Max, and it really
Excuse
is
me.
taking
It's Max
on
now.
Max. Oh, it's right. It's Max now. It's
Max now.
where you
Please.
find HBO. It's where HBO is on Max. Everything outside of entertainment is terrible. Isn't it?
Yeah, correct.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy. I just want to watch my cartoons and not think about branding or corporate synergy.
Jack Quaid
yeah,
is Superman.
Yes,
Oh my
Jack Quaid is Superman.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah,
my god!
and I think
I'm sorry. I'm googling as you're speaking. Sorry.
yeah, it's very good, and all I can think the whole time is that's Boimler. What are you doing? That's
Yeah.
Boimler. That's Boimler, and that's what's his nuts from The Boys.
Yes, correct.
Yeah, I can't remember that character's name, and I'm
Yeah.
just like, you got to be Superman. Isn't that
Yeah.
great? That's great for
Wild.
you. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. Yeah, everyone is doing a very splendid job in the voice acting department. Alice Lee is giving everything to this Lois Lane. This very this very high energy, very like childish show. Like it's very much for like kids. Like
Yeah.
don't get it twisted. There's a segment where Jimmy Olsen's like, "You like Clark," very much like YA. I love it though. I think they've set up a really cute set of stakes for the world where Lois they're interns at the newspaper that they work at.
Daily Planet.
The Daily Planet. Thank you. I was like, the what? The Daily Planet. And Lois, within the first episode, is like, we got to find out who the Superman is. We got to figure his shit out. But then there's also a really darling, like, subtext within Clark where he has to figure out who Superman is. So, like, Lois is like, we got to find out who Superman is. And he's like, yeah, we really do. It's very sweet. It's very sweet.
Yeah.
I'm so excited to see where it's going and what choices they're going to make with other characters. It's got that sort of anime art style, which is very, very fun. So they have very big expressions, you know. I adored it. It's all my favorite flavors in one thing.
Yeah,
Only 2 episodes, and I love it.
I really liked it too. The broad pitch for those who haven't seen it is Lois, Jimmy, and Clark are all starting their first day as interns at the Daily Planet together. And on that first day, get roped into a story that Lois is trying to break, even though Perry keeps telling them to stop and just do what they're supposed to in the office.
Just make copies and get coffee.
And so, but also in this version of Superman, it does kind of the Arrow thing where the episodes start with flashbacks to his childhood, because unlike other versions of Superman, Clark's an adult and doesn't know his past yet. And like, it's just taking another take on young Superman kind of discovery. And like, also it's been shown on Twitter a bunch, but like, he gets a full Super Sentai, Sailor Moon, Magical Girl transformation into his suit.
Oh, yeah.
Incredible.
No, Superman needed a Magical Girl transformation, and I didn't realize that was the case. There it was.
Yeah.
A gift to me. I will say one of my favorite choices that they made for this, and I hadn't seen this done before, and maybe comics have done it with Superman, but I love the fact that Jor-El does not speak our Earth language.
No, he speaks Kryptonian.
He speaks Kryptonian, so like we don't know what he's saying.
Yeah,
It's
and Clark doesn't initially either.
very good.
It's
I
brilliant.
thought that was such a strong choice to sort of like help build this like tiny bit of an overarching, you know, puzzle box story of
Yeah.
who
And it
Clark
does-
is.
And it does the thing that other Fortress of Solitudes have done, where it's clearly a kind of sentient AI based on his father. So like Clark at some point just says, "I can't understand you, but I want to," and his father frowns, like, because he can understand, and he feels bad that his son can't understand him, and they can't communicate. It's just really brilliant. Also, the way you described Clark was great, but I can give you one word that just sums it up. Clark is a big ol' himbo, and it's great.
He's such a himbo.
Well-meaning, doofy, klutzy. It's
Yeah.
it's just
Speaking
very
of
good.
himbos, my cat has arrived.
Champion the Cat, also famously a himbo.
Also, famously a himbo. Yes, you're a himbo.
But yeah, I'm with you, Rachel. I watched both of those also this week, and like, also Dennis Quaid. Like, I don't really know him. Like, I didn't watch The Boys. Of course, I've watched Lower Decks, so I love him there. But he seemed genuinely super excited to be playing this, and like,
Yeah.
I think what I love about this show, we're seeing Jay's cat
Yeah,
too.
kitty.
I wanted to show off my black cat as well.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
What is your
Sweet
cat's
little
name, Jay?
beans.
This is Jovi. This is actually my
Jovi.
roommate's cat. Yeah, but
Jovi, as in
She's-
Bon Jovi.
I think so. Yeah, but she's a cute little
Yeah.
chonker.
She's so chonk with her precious little blue eyes.
Yeah.
As Rachel likes to say, all pets stay in the podcast.
Yeah, all the pets belong.
Yeah.
More pets, please.
If Otis hadn't gone to daycare and was passed out, he'd probably be running around. But yeah, I thought the show is really good. It kind of takes an anime sensibility, but mixes it with, I think, some of the best parts of not even just the Tim Daly, Bruce Timm cartoon, but even there's a hint of the Fleischer cartoons. Mm-hmm. Like the way Superman presents himself when he's Superman, the kind of wholesome hero nature of it, the kind of independence of Lois. This might be my favorite version of Lois. And like, I love the Bruce Timm version of Lois. It's one of my favorites, but this one is very good. If you're a Superman fan, I can't recommend it enough either. I think you're completely on point, Rachel, with this, I think. And I think it's clearly not, it wants to do something different, right? It sets up a story that's not going to be the same as the comics, the movies, anything else. And honestly, that makes sense. We already know we're getting Superman Legacy from James Gunn, not Tim Gunn, different person, James Gunn, next year sometime. So for this to be completely its own thing, it makes sense to do an original story or something that at least I've not seen in the comics.
Yeah, I think it's a setup very well to tell the same story in a new way, you know. But yeah, it is like I said, it is very much for a younger demographic. So if you're not particularly interested in that, maybe stick with Superman and Lois. But I love my wholesome little Clark.
Yeah.
And I love his parents. I
Oh,
love
they're
his
great.
mom.
So good.
Just I don't want to spoil the very funny
Uh-huh.
costume moment, but
Yeah.
it is.
And
I
it-
think about it. I think about it daily. That's the choice they made.
I feel like they've talked about this on our sister show, Men of Steel, but like a good Ma and Pa Kent are kind of integral to every version of Superman.
Yeah.
If they're both alive or whoever is alive, like Ma or Pa Kent are like absolutely integral to having a strong Superman as well.
You gotta have the parents.
Gotta
They're
have 'em.
important.
They're important. Well, Rachel,
Yes.
if you had to sum up My Adventures with Superman and you couldn't use the words My Adventures with or Superman, none of those words, what 3 words would you use to describe this cartoon?
Wholesome himbo hero.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Love the
there you go.
alliteration. Yeah, perfect. Perfection.
Yeah.
Excellent.
There he is. There he
Well done.
is.
Our
My
favorite
sweet
him.
Clark. We love
Sweet
him.
baby boy. Well, now it's our guest's turn, Jay.
Yeah, Jay.
What is the most recent thing you have watched that you have brought to the program?
So I, like the both of you, have a little bit of honorable mentions, and I feel like it's just kind of important to like contextualize like what I've
Sure.
been watching lately. But I've been watching a lot of things for Super Bracket Bros. We're in a kaiju season, so I've been watching old Ultraman. I've been watching new MonsterVerse movies. I've been watching everything in that genre, but because that's show watching, I also need things to like not be about the
Very
show.
not.
Yeah.
Completely separate.
And so, like, one of the things that I did watch for the show was Attack on Titan. And I really enjoyed the first season and second season, and then I burned through the third and fourth season. I'm all caught up now.
Wow.
But then that was really sad. So I needed something else to, a little pick me up. So I returned to the world of My Hero Academia. And I
Yes.
watched the entirety of season 6 over the last couple days. So that is what I'm bringing because man,
Rachel's favorite.
it was so good.
Oh yeah, my hero is also in the supremacy fight with cartoons. Steven Owlhouse,
Yeah.
my sweet Deku,
Oh,
baby
Deku,
boy.
Deku's arc in okay, sorry. Season 6
Season 6.
Season 6 of My Hero Academia. I so to give context, this was kind of like the first anime that I had ever watched at the behest of my co-host from Eli. He kind of got me on this train, and now I've consumed quite a bit of it over the last couple of years, really since we started doing the podcast. And My Hero Academia has always been there, but then season 5 just kind of fell pretty flat for me, and I fell off the show for a while. I wasn't interested when season 6 was coming out, but then I needed something that was familiar and I knew I would at least somewhat enjoy, and it ended up being the best the show has ever been to me. Season 6 was absolutely incredible. Like the entire first arc, the Paranormal Liberation War, my God, it was just banger after banger fight. Like the whole thing was just this amazing climax to these amazing fights. Like, and it was a similar time where I think I was listening to an episode of yours a couple episodes ago, and Rachel, you're talking about wrestling, and that's what it reminded me of. It was like every single hero like that would like come drop out of a helicopter or suddenly appear that you weren't expecting. It's like, from the back row with the steel chair, and I loved every moment of it. Like,
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
They played my emotions like a fiddle. Byurko, that entire kick in the tubes.
holy smokes. Like,
Fuck off, man. Like
like when that was happening, and I was like, this is the start of the season. I
Yeah.
was like, holy crap, this is gonna be good. And yeah, so I binged the ever-living crap out of it. One of my favorite characters of all time, Aizawa, became my favorite character of all time during this season.
yes.
Like, like cemented himself as like bar none my favorite. You know, like we end every episode of Super Bracket Bros. I end it by saying, no true hero is a one-trick pony, and that's because of Aizawa. And then he goes and does what he does in season 6, and it just blew me away. And oh my god, like I was so pumped the entire time, and it was just, but it wasn't like over stimulating. It was like a nice warm action blanket, like return to form for me, you know, getting back into anime and getting back into My Hero, and like seeing this show that I really loved, and I loved all these characters so much, and seeing it return to the form that I felt when I first started watching it, and getting that back in season 6 was just so much fun. And then, I mean, you take all that hype, you know, from the first half of the season, then the second half of the season, you see Deku go through the journey that he goes through, and it's heart-wrenching. And like they play it so well though, and it's such like it never for me like crossed the line of like too cheesy or too campy or anything like that. Like I really believed in all of his classmates, and you know what they were trying to do for Deku and stuff like that. Like just so much good.
Yeah.
Like there wasn't an episode that I was like, that was okay.
Yeah.
It was so good.
Supremely all bangers. That second arc with the students in the aftermath of the war is also like very wrestling. Like that whole idea of we're gonna kick your ass because we love you.
Yeah,
we gotta bring you back. You know.
And they did, and my
heart, my whole heart,
my whole heart. It was so full, and it just like really like brought me up, you know, because like I loved Attack on Titan. It was very good. It was like unequivocally like it's bulletproof. Like it's such a good show, but man, I was in the dumpster. Like I was like down, like, you know, like I mean that made me feel bad about the world. And so like My Hero Academia like pulled me straight back up, and like really was like the counterbalance that I needed at that moment. So like it just hit at the perfect time. So awesome. That's what I watched most recently.
Yeah, this is like the third or fourth time the show has come up. I started it. It's on my list for after I finish Owl House. I will go back to it. I started it and watched like the first 2 or 3 episodes, and they were great. Like also for me, it's so interesting because like the voice of what's the main hero?
All Might.
All Might is voiced by the American voice actor who played Piccolo in Dragon Ball Z for years and years, and so like I know that voice so well, and to see him play this character is so different. And like that first episode, which I don't think it spoils for, to find out like All Might isn't what we think he is, and like how he actually disappoints Deku and how he feels crushed after meeting his hero. Like it's also relatable. And even the second episode, I think, where Deku like goes against his nature to try and save I can't remember the character's name.
Bakugo.
Like all of this is the things that I love in anime, and it should have hooked me, but for some reason I think it's just because I don't sit down and watch a lot of shows on my own anymore. The thing about Owl House is it's 22 minutes, 20 minutes, like short shows like that. It's why I binge Steven Universe. It's why I love Gravity Falls. Like I like short animated shows because I can kind of get in, get out, sort of like my YouTube obsession as of late and video essay obsession. I mean, that said, I have been watching 1 to 2 hour long documentaries, so take it as you will. But like, I really like My Hero Academia. I think I need to sit with it a little longer. I think once I get through a few more episodes, it'll really get me. And so I really, in earnest, plan to watch it after I finish Owl House, because I've heard nothing but great things. I grew up watching anime. I love some of my favorite animes, or like the most famous one-season animes like Cowboy Bebop and Trigun and Outlaw Star and all of that stuff. And so I know this will, and I love superheroes, so I know this has things that I'll like, which is for whatever reason I just have trouble making the time. I mean, it's the same thing that like Rachel, you and I talk about with video games too. Like, there's so many good games I want to play, but one game hooks me, and other games will fall to the wayside until I can find the time to play other things.
Yeah, I get you.
Even for me, who's a huge fan of the show, like it just had to hit me at the right time, you know, and for me to like get into it, and also my trial of Crunchyroll is running out, so that was motivating for me.
Yeah. See, I watched it week to week. I was in. I've watched it that way every season.
I cannot imagine having watched season 6 week by week, especially the moment I'm talking about with Aizawa. Like, how that episode ended, I had to walk away from the TV. Yeah. I had to get up and separate myself from what had just happened. And then, Rachel.
Yes, I know. Yes, I am with you all of the way.
Thank you.
I screamed so much in that for just constantly. I feel like I was just up here all the way. Like
I don't have a lot of like outside reactions, especially when I'm watching a thing alone. To like the media that I'm watching, like it's just not who I am. Like I don't really like have big LOLs, you know. But like this, man, I stood up. I said, "What the fuck?" multiple times. I was like, "What is happening?" I was messaging Eli. He was pumped. It was insanity, but the best kind.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, Jay, if you had to sum up My Hero Academia season 6 in just 3 words, and you could not use the words My Hero or Academia, what 3 words would you choose?
Best insanity possible. I'm gonna go with
All right, good.
Yeah,
all right.
Yeah.
Impressive. I like that. Best insanity possible. Excellent. I promise loyal listeners, I will watch the show eventually. It's on the list with so many other things.
I believe in you. I have complete faith.
Also, I forgot to say at the top of the show, so before we transition into the interview, I should say now, as of when we were recording today, SAG-AFTRA and the crew union, I am blanking. Oh, no, IATSE's not on strike. My spouse off camera is good. Just a solidarity letter. The SAG-AFTRA has agreed to strike along with the WGA. We support both of them. We stand with them. We are going to continue to do the show. I had toyed with the idea of like also maybe taking a hiatus in solidarity because we are about media. But honestly, I think it's more important for Rachel and I to keep up on what's going on and let you know so you don't forget. There's tons of stuff to still watch. We're still going to celebrate the media we have, but this is so important for fair wages. We love TV and movies, but we love people being able to live and eat and afford homes and lives and get health insurance way more than any of that. And so if you don't like unions and you don't like equal wages and you don't like any of that stuff, I suppose you should probably also stop listening to this podcast. Because
also, like, why don't you want all of us to have more money? What is wrong with you?
Yeah.
We've decided that we need that to survive. Do you want people to not survive? What's wrong with you, you weirdo? Everybody should get more money until we abolish money entirely and become a fully anarchistic society where we take care of each other.
Right, exactly.
We all have gardens. We sing the Internationale.
Exactly. And so I thought it was important to mention that as this episode will be going up shortly after that announcement. And we also stand in solidarity with both of those unions and hope that they get what they need to live and more.
And I hope our stupid government doesn't pull some nonsense to force them to stop striking.
Yeah, that too. Anyway, on to a happier note.
Home of the free, everybody.
Home of the free.
We're the freest ever.
Yeah,
we're so
free. So free.
Freest country of all time.
Of all time. Forever.
Here we are. Forever. No one got it freer.
Jay, you are joining us. You are the other half of Super Bracket Bros, an incredible podcast I got to guest on that is doing its kaiju season.
Hell yeah.
We had Eli on 2 weeks ago. We're so happy to have you on now. Eli gave us the I'm along for the ride story.
Yeah.
And he's like, I've known Jay a long time. This is something he's always wanted to do. And I kind of just said, sure, I'll do the thing. I'm curious from your end, where did this, he said that you guys have been doing stuff like this as a fun game, just growing up. But where did the idea to actually turn it into a podcast come from? Was it just kind of a natural evolution of the BS you were doing day to day?
Well, I think as with probably 90% of podcasts, yes.
Yes.
It was conversations that we were already having, and we decided that it was good enough to put in front of a microphone. That is like basically the gist of it. But yeah, I think Eli mentioned, like we were listening to a lot of actual play podcasts, like especially like the Adventure Zone is a big one. One of my favorites of all time. I've gone on to expand that, and I listen to a lot of others now. But the McElroy brothers really were a big inspiration for me, like My Brother and Me, and then branching from there, everything on the Maximum Fun network of podcasts was really just like inspired me to like put my own good thing into the world. Like it was, like we're having these conversations, and then that's where they stop, and it's like, well, if someone can listen to this and feel like they're having a chat with friends, or maybe even learn something about a character that we talk about, because when we first started, it was just, here are the fighters, here's how we think the fight will go, and that was the episode. And we've evolved to breaking down the characters. And then now we're talking about, like, well, what would the characters think about this fight? And, we're getting into, like, borderline, role-playing kind of thing, where we're, like, really getting into the minds of these characters, too. And so, it's really, like, taken on more than the original concept, which I love, I'm very happy with. But yes, it was, we're talking about this dumb thing, and we think someone else might be interested too.
Yeah.
I mean, that's great. As of when we're recording, I just listened to your King Kong versus some character from World of Warcraft that I don't remember the name of episode.
Razageth. Yeah.
Razageth. And like, what I love about the show's framework, and I think we talked about this with Eli a little bit, is that you're, no matter what the characters are or the matchup is, you're celebrating these characters. No one comes on to like especially with World of Warcraft, I, as a now clean World of Warcraft player who doesn't give in to that addiction anymore, though your episode almost made me want to go back. Turns out Cataclysm was just a bad enough expansion that I went, I don't need to play this anymore. But like, it's very easy to make fun of games like World of Warcraft or Fortnite or whatever else, but that's not what you guys do. You were like, we brought someone on who's passionate about WoW. Eli is playing WoW now. Let's just talk about why this game is great from a gameplay perspective before we even get into this character. And I think that kind of background is the same thing with our Power Rangers when me and Ben were on. Like, you had just watched it and you were celebrating what you loved about it. Sure, we acknowledged the goofy mishaps and like things that weren't perfect about it, but it was never like, well, this thing sucked and I didn't like that they did that. Like, was that always the goal, is to kind of keep it more positive and light and like welcoming?
I think it wasn't intentional to start.
Okay.
I think in the beginning, we weren't really like doing any sort of review when we were talking about these characters or the media that they came from. We were just kind of hopping in and making sure that a listener, I mean, I don't even know if we were doing this, to be honest. If we were trying to make sure the listener like knew what the character could do.
Right.
But like, even then, it wasn't intentional really until we started bringing guests on. I think that was really like the tipping point, because the entire first season, it's just me and Eli. So we focused on a lot of characters that we already knew because we didn't want to mess up, right? So right. We hand-picked characters, we hand-slotted them into each and every seed too, and it felt very rigid. And so then, like, obviously then they were characters that me and Eli had already talked about a lot, and so going forward we had to do more research. We had to, we started bringing on guests, which I think is that's the reason why I have a guest on. I try to get a guest on every single episode, because I think that's really what makes the show great, because as much media as me and Eli consume, we cannot be experts. We cannot love everything that exists, and
right.
We want to truly, and this was truly, a core concept from the beginning, is we wanted to bring characters from every corner of the multiverse, not just the most popular things that are happening right now, not just TV or movies or anime. We wanted kids cartoons, like we had She-Ra, from the Netflix series, that was awesome. We've had 2 characters from actual play podcasts. We had Magnus from the Adventure Zone, and we had Daryl Wilson from Dungeons and Daddies. We've really wanted to, shed a little bit of light on every character, right? You know, and we're only 5 seasons in, and we still, I mean, we've never talked about Superman, you know, we've never talked about, you know, some of the biggest names, you know, like some names I think about, like Kratos from God of War, I really would love to talk about, but we haven't touched it yet, you know, because like there's just so much out there and we want to celebrate all of it. And so like I think that core concept of wanting to talk about everybody, not just characters that we already love, really led to guests, and that led to finding guests that love these characters, that led to celebrating them entirely, you know.
That's awesome. I mean, so would you say, like, because we asked this of Eli also, is Kratos like the character, if you could pick any character that you'd want to talk about, or is there one even above Kratos that, like, if you could just, regardless of the seed, the bracket, like this character you want to talk about?
Kratos is definitely up there. I would say it would probably be, it's probably Aizawa from My Hero Academia, who I really want to talk about. Me and Eli, before we put anything out on the air, and we recorded a like test episode, and the original test episode was Aizawa from My Hero Academia versus Spider-Man from the MCU, and that was like the very original matchup. The first time we ever put our voices recorded, we sat in a closed off like study room near the college that we were at, and we recorded on a laptop recorder, and unfortunately that's been lost to time. But you know, then the next episodes that we did a test one was Doctor Strange versus Kratos, and yeah, that one's actually on the Patreon, so like I managed to save that and clean it up, and so yeah, so you can go back, and I think we were calling our podcast Champions of the Multiverse at that time. And so, you know, but yeah, like Aizawa is 100% number one on my list. It's just, I know I'm going to have to fight my bias harder than I've ever fought it before as soon as he comes on the show.
Yeah.
Yeah, that must be tough, like when you really like a character, to like backseat your own love of the character for a discussion. I mean, I've watched, like, at least on the, like, it was clear how much Eli likes the Power Rangers, but conceded, like we did, where that matchup should go. But like, it must be a little tricky to do that, to like not just champion your favorite, but to champion the person you actually think will win.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Which is why also one of the core concepts of the show from the beginning that we've managed to continue to push through is that this is a discussion-based show. This is not a debate. I am not bringing you on to purely fight for one character over another. You know, if you like, I just, one thing that I ask of every guest is just to at least keep an open mind. I don't expect you as a guest to like try to eliminate every piece of bias. You know, like I trust that to me and Eli, you know, to do the majority of that. But yeah, at least I ask everybody to keep an open mind, because I want it to be a discussion. That's why we vote for who wins at the end. It's not, you know, like a judge or an arbiter, you know, deciding, or some sort of tally system or something like that, you know, where, yeah, so we never wanted it to be a debate show, because there are Who Would Win podcasts. There are 2 Who Would Win podcasts, one of which we've had on our show. And Steve and Chris are just awesome dudes, and they do all sorts of zany things. And then there's another Who Would Win show, and they're very competitive and borderline toxic, and like that was not what we wanted to do. You know, we wanted to find a nice in between.
I love that. When you're consuming media now, can you truly enjoy it, or does your brain in the back of your head kind of go, I wonder how, well, on the podcast, this would be great?
It's tough. Yeah, I really have to, like, when I'm watching things, one other thing that I recently watched was Bear on via Hulu, and that was fantastic. And I had the thought while I was watching it that I didn't think about Super Bracket Bros while I was watching it, because it's about cooking. It's about a restaurant, you know? And so like but whenever it's a shonen, or it's a cartoon, or, I mean, if there's battling happening, there's at least 5% of my brain somewhere in there thinking about what kind of bracket this character could fit into, for sure. It's a nonstop process.
Yeah. I feel like when you're creating things, it's kind of hard to turn off the creation brain. I mean, there are definitely times where like I go to a movie or sit down to watch something, and I know Rachel does this too, and I go, well, I need something for the show. What am I going to watch? I got to pick something, kind of a thing.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And even when like another anime that I watched, within the last couple of weeks was season 1 of Jujutsu Kaisen, which I really enjoyed, but Super Bracket Bros was definitely on my brain watching that. There was lots of fighting, lots of magic, lots of, this magic system that my brain was sinking into and wondering how is that going to work in the multiverse, right? So it definitely seeps in there. Sometimes, a lot of the time I don't mind it because I love doing the show, but then there's some times where I can't quite turn it off, and it does bug me. But it's another reason why we switched to the shorter seasons too, because this season right now that we're doing is going to be 4 months long. We're halfway through it right now. The last season that we did was a year and a half long, and that dragged. So yeah, I think shorter seasons, longer breaks, I'm hoping will allow me to create a little bit more separation.
That's great. That's awesome. Is there other bracket themes that you have ideas for, like that maybe I don't want you to spill all the beans on like stuff that's actually coming up, but are there like a couple of bracket ideas that maybe aren't coming up anytime soon that like you'd love to do at some point?
Matt, there's so many bracket ideas.
Yeah.
I had to stop myself at some point, but yeah, I have an entire folder dedicated to future seasons of Super Bracket Bros, and I'm looking at 10 right now, 10 different ideas. So I mean, like, we did sort of like a melee low power tier, like basically I want to do another version of all the brackets we've already done, because like even though we had 32 melee characters, that doesn't cover all the characters I want to talk about, like in that power level. I want to do duos, I want to do teams, like I want to do like god tier characters, and yeah, and like, so there's and I also want to do like a magic season too of just like pure magic users, like, so yeah, no, there's so many ideas. I have a character list of more than 500 characters that I want to talk about on the show.
Wow.
Unbelievable. That's crazy. My idea would be like reality breaking characters. So not like in like the Doctor Strange sense, but in like the Deadpool sense. Like Ambush Bug, Deadpool, maybe Bill Cipher from Gravity Falls. Like these characters that She-Hulk, like characters who can break the fourth wall, and like how that kind of fight would go.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
You're welcome for that.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I am writing it down.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Which is why it's an unfair question, but it's why I asked the first time everybody comes on the show, I ask you if you have a favorite fictional character, because then they get on the list, and so then I know who to call when I talk about that character. So,
smart.
Yeah.
I look forward to coming on to talk about Magus 10 years from now when you eventually do something that involves him.
Yes, he has made it his way onto the list, and now I'm putting Fourth Wall Tournament on the list as well.
There you go. If you could tell our listeners one thing about your show that they might not know, or one thing that kind of sums up the show, like a pitch to get them to listen, what would that sentiment be?
I think that when people hear the concept of our show, that they might, bounce off of it because they think they know what it's going to be, that it's going to be like, we're going to be talking about bullet velocity, and we're going to be talking about like, can this character, how many mountains can they blow up with their, super mega blast, and like how many mountains worth of damage can this other character take? And we do some of that, but the point of the show is to have fun. We are there to facilitate having the best time possible and to celebrate these characters. And yeah, like we we want to talk about these characters. We want to find out, we want to get the right answer at the end, but that is second priority to having the funnest conversation possible and coming up with the funnest scenario of that fight. Like coming up with like the most ridiculous thing that won't actually happen and won't impact my decision, but I still want to imagine it, and we want to, like help if you're listening, we want to help you like come up with your own the thing that we didn't think of. We want to put you in that mindset if you're listening to Super Bracket Bros. So I would say that is, we're not anti-competitive. People come on, they have their favorites, and they do vouch for them for sure. And that's 100% okay with us, because like it's hard to separate your bias, but like we're there to have a good time, man. And yeah, that's what I want people to enjoy listening to Super Bracket Bros.
Love that. I do have a question. Have you walked into a fight and been completely swayed in the opposite direction for a character? Like you walked in, you went, I think it's going to be this one that's going to win, and somebody like gave a really good pitch, and you're like, actually, no.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, that has definitely happened before. It doesn't happen super often. I think I've gotten like pretty good at like figuring out who's gonna win, but there's definitely moments where like somebody brings up something and I'm like, I missed that. Like I completely 100% missed that. I'm trying to think of an example, but like one thing that jumps to mind is we talked about Han Solo and Chewbacca. They were a team last season, and they lost the first round to a character from like a tertiary character from Jujutsu Kaisen, Mei Zenin. And like Mei is a student, but the fact of the matter is that she is from Jujutsu Kaisen. She's from an anime, and so like the level of like what she's capable of doing in that universe, even though she's at the bottom of her universe, if she was in the Star Wars universe, she'd be just as good, if not better, than Han Solo. So it's like it's stuff like that surprises me sometimes, where it's like, oh yeah, that what I do think that person would win. Yeah.
I love that.
Super
That's awesome.
neat.
It's always fun when like on this show when people bring a show that I've not seen or repeatedly bring a show that I want to see. Like those kinds of things are fun for me as a host. I'm sure in the same way where you're kind of blown away by like, oh yeah, that is a good idea. Or, oh, that's cool. Yeah, I hadn't thought about that. Right. Like being surprised, I think as a host is my favorite thing.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I love having folks that are super knowledgeable too, like that didn't watch it for the first time a week ago, because like when I'm researching, I'm, finding YouTube videos, finding the media, and like consuming as much of it usually as possible and trying to like absorb it. But I will never be as prepared as someone who's watched it for the 5th time, last week. Right. Like it just simply isn't possible, like, so the details that our guests bring are always astounding, An episode that's coming out in the future that we already recorded is King Ghidorah from the Legendary Pictures versus Ultraman, the original Ultraman. And we had a couple guests from a podcast called Kaiju versus History, where they watch kaiju films. Like that's what they do. So like they like had a tremendous amount of knowledge, and because I mean they've seen the original series multiple times, like they've loved Ghidorah, and so like they've seen all the versions of Ghidorah too, which I didn't have the context for, as I was focused on the version we were talking about that day. But they brought a lot of interesting context that I didn't have, and that's just amazing. Like I love getting to hear, have a first-hand account of some of that stuff.
Awesome. Well, Jay, thank you for taking the time to hang out with us today. This is great.
Of course.
Super fun.
Doing the 1-2 punch. It's funny. I brought this up to Eli also. Like I did say, like right after we finished recording my episode of Super Bracket Bros, I was like, everyone on this call, I'm having on screen snark. So Benjamin, you're the last one if you're listening.
We're gonna get you,
Benjamin. But thank you for joining us. This was so much fun. Before we wrap up, I would love for you to tell folks maybe where they can find the show. Maybe if they want to support you financially, there's a way to do that, I've heard. And maybe just kind of give folks where they can find you online, the show, and the best way to consume all that stuff.
Yeah, the best way to find us is we are on any podcast platform. As far as I know, to this day, we are still the only podcast that goes by Super Bracket Bros, because those 3 words together are nonsense. But they will help you find my show. So Spotify, Apple, any podcast platform, you're going to be able to find Super Bracket Bros. We always appreciate a 5-star review. It just takes, as Matt has said several times, that I didn't know this on all the Discords, it just takes 30 seconds, to listen on Spotify. Give that 5-star review. But yeah, if you want to find us on social media, our biggest one is Instagram at Super Bracket Bros. We are not on Twitter, not jumping on that sinking ship. So find us on Instagram, where you can vote on all of the matchups. So if you are interested in like getting involved a little bit, or if you're like a podcast content creator person and this sounds fun, then talk to me, because like I would love to have you on the show, because we're talking about kaijus right now and lots of people love this genre and I'm learning to love it as we go. It's not something I had a lot of experience going in, so really if you start at the beginning of season 5, with our Selection Sunday episode where we break down what we're doing, I'm going on a journey here. I am learning to appreciate this genre and everything about it so much. And I think like if you're looking for a season arc, that's a great place to start. If you're looking to just like hop in with a character that then we have more than 120 episodes at this point, I think. So just find a character name that you recognize. We've talked about a lot. And so chances are there's going to be somebody in the back catalog that you care about that you can just pop in, listen to, and, that might be a good frame of reference if we are your vibe. That's usually, how I recommend approaching Super Bracket Bros. But yeah, thank you guys so much for having me on the show. This was an absolute blast. I'm so happy I got to talk about My Hero. We haven't had a My Hero character in so long. So yeah, I was more than happy to come on today's episode and chat with you guys. So thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us. And of course, rate and review this podcast.
Yeah.
The Super Bracket Bros, like all of the podcasts you've ever listened to, just rate them all. It'll take an afternoon.
Yeah.
Just do it. Also, Super Bracket Bros has a Patreon that I'm going to plug for them. Definitely join that. As a creator who has a Patreon for one of his podcasts, I know that it is really difficult to get, like, podcasting is a losing battle financially unless you have some community support. So I respect that hustle too. So you definitely go check out that stuff. They have cool rewards, exclusive episodes, all sorts of stuff. So definitely go check that out.
Yeah, and one more thing that I'll plug that I'm realizing that I really should start doing is that I've started doing podcasts for other people. So nice. I am currently working on a podcast for a local nonprofit here in Madison, Wisconsin, a sustainability organization. That hasn't launched yet, but I am super excited to do so. If you follow, either the Super Bracket Bros Discord, or just are in a Discord that I'm in, so whether that's the Point of View or wherever, once that's out, I am going to be plugging the ever-living crap out of it because I'm getting paid to do it. Also, I have picked up another project as well that is very early stages, but I'm going to be doing some editing for somebody else. So if you listen to some of my work and you're like, hey, I don't want to edit my podcast, I can do that. Jay Davis. So make sure to, find me. superbracketbros@gmail.com would be a great way to contact me for something like that. But sorry, I just realized that I should 100% be plugging myself, as a creative individual. So yeah.
For sure. Awesome. Yeah, definitely do that. Super Bracket Bros is expertly edited. And as someone who's edited too many podcasts, I can safely say that pretty easily.
Thank you.
We will ask you our final question in just a moment, Jay, but I think, Rachel, first, before we do any of that, we should thank some lovely folks.
Yes, I simply must thank John Presnell for the use of the song Aurora off the album Fair Game featuring Stefan Remble. What a bop.
Still a bop.
Smash.
Still a bop.
We love
awesome.
it.
Smash. Love a great song.
I'm sad it wasn't available on Instagram for dropping the new show art.
Yeah, it's a little bummer that it's not on there, but maybe we can get it on there. Who knows?
Who knows?
Magic. I would like to thank the incredible Katie Bug, Katie Beast, who redesigned our original show art that she did with updated looks, made us so much hotter.
Gosh, look at us.
Look at us.
Thought. Not me.
Who would have thought? Not me.
We're the hot ones now.
We are the hot ones now. Yeah, look at me. We're the hot ones now. The new logo is in all of your podcast feeds. It's on our Libsyn page. It's on certain POV. Great, awesome work. So thank you so much, Katie, for this redesign.
Thank you.
I've wanted it for a while. Best money I have ever spent. Thank you for making us look hotter than we already did.
Yeah, and thank you for making the elements separate so we each have our art as our profile pictures.
Yeah, pretty much.
We're doing great.
We're doing great.
It looks so good. It looks so good. I'm
good.
so grateful. I'm so happy. Nothing could really drag down my good vibes right now. I'm so happy.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Why don't you also tell folks about our incredible podcast?
Yeah, I'm going to ride the good waves of goodness and thank the Certain Point of View Podcast Network for continuing to allow us to be a party to the community. You can find all of the shows that you love to see with your ears. I'm doing great. It's getting really hot. I'm getting really loopy. All of them at certainpov.com. You can also find links to our Discord server where you can see our little 3-word reviews written out.
Yeah.
For reasons.
You can also find me and Rachel on there, and Jay is actually also in the Discord as well. So if you want to hang out with literally any of us.
Yeah, at us. Like literally at me. If you want to talk to me, at me.
Yeah, bring it.
I'll figure it out. I think I get Discord now. Is that everybody we had to thank? I forget.
Yeah, well, and also, of course, I do want to say that if remembering any of that stuff was difficult, if you go down in the show notes, I have a link to our Apple page, our Spotify page. You can rate and review us. I have a link to the Discord server. I have all of those cool links. Links to Jay's stuff will also be in the show notes, the Instagram, and the podcast itself. So go check out all of that stuff. And yeah, I think that's it. You can reach us, of course, at screen_snark on Twitter while it's still on fire and sinking. You can't find me on Twitter anymore because I got banned for calling out TERFs, but I've been hanging out on the Fun and Games Twitter in the short term.
I'm over on Threads, I guess.
And I'm over on Blue Sky, I guess. We'll see what happens with
jealous.
all that.
Let me in. Let me in.
Next time I get an invite, it's all yours, Rachel, I promise. And yeah, of course, if you want to write us an email, you can also at screensnarkpod@gmail.com. Yeah. And if it's just for us to yell at a bird on your behalf, please send us an email. I don't know.
Yell at a bird. Now, I'm going to take us into the final question of the episode because I'm ready. I'm ready to know. Jay, you've spent a lot of time dealing with different characters and understanding sort of like how they navigate the world with the skills that they have. So I gotta know if you could get a boon like that in the form of a trope as featured in movies and television that could instantly and magically become true in your life, likely to help you, I would assume. Which trope would you choose? Jay is making a great face right now.
It's the best face.
It is very upset.
No. I completely forgot about this, and as soon as I heard Eli's episode, I was like, I gotta think of something now, and then I never did. So now we're here, and I'm on tvtropes.com, literally looking at her, scrolling through, trying to find a good one. But I think I remembered, and I'm hopeful that you'll accept this. But you know what I think the world needs. I think the real world just needs a protagonist. I think that we need one person that we can say, yeah, that's the good guy. Yeah. And they're going to turn our society into an anarch society where everybody has gardens. And they're going to lead us to the promised land. So if I could take the idea of just a protagonist and put it in the real world, it doesn't have to be me. I prefer it not be me.
Honestly.
Yeah, same.
But like, I just want someone that is the protagonist that I can just say yes to. You know what? I don't want to half vote for the best worst option anymore. Like I want to vote for the best person. That's it. Yeah. That's what I want.
You want someone to win.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yes.
Exactly. Very on brand. Well done. Well done. Well, Jay, thank you again for joining us. This was an absolute delight.
Thank you so much.
your podcast has become one of my favorites, and it's in my rotation every week. I love listening to it. So everyone go check it out. We appreciate you being here. And now I guess we end the show by thanking my incredible, brilliant, really hot and attractive co-host, Rachel Quirky Shank. I got there.
Literally so hot right now. I'm so sweaty. And I would like to thank my wholesome himbo hero co-host, Matt, a.k.a. Stormageddon. More like Thembo, but like you get
Thembo,
it. Yeah,
but, it's the same. It's like
navigating.
all in the same direction. Yeah.
Fulsome.
I realize now I misgendered myself at one point. It's fine. We're all trying our best.
It's whatever.
We're doing our best.
Gender is real squishy. And
it is real squishy.
Boy, oh boy. Real goopy stuff, that gender.
And I would like to thank our incredible listeners. We would not have a show without you. We'd be just yelling at birds. So thank you for being here. We'll see you at the movies or on a couch somewhere. Bye-bye.
Hey.
Oh, hey, Jeff.
What's going on, guys?
Oh, talking about Superman.
Oh, cool. I could talk about Superman.
I could talk some more about Superman.
We know.
I'll bet a few people would want to get in on this.
I'm down.
You know it.
That sounds like fun. I'll do it.
Cool, let's do it. We can call the show Men of Steel.
And you can find it at certainpov.com.
Or wherever you get your podcasts.
Yay.
CPOV. CertainPOV.com.